Hello, and welcome to Physics 40. This is Physics for Scientists and Engineers 1, the first of the physics series, the beginning of college physics specifically for those in engineering and certain science tracks. My name is Dr. Trevor Gonzalez. I'm going to be your professor for this semester of remote education, and I'm really excited to teach this class. I've been teaching this class at one college or another in the Bay Area, I think 7 or 8 times since 2015. So it's a class I know very well, and I'm always excited to try new things. And of course, doing it remotely this semester, I get to try a lot of new things. Okay? So I want to just kind of clear up what the class is going to look like, what you have to expect, how you're going to communicate with me. Many of you already have sent me emails or messages, and we'll of course continue to communicate throughout the semester. So let's kind of get to what the course is going to look like. Over here, I have the syllabus. I'm going to be quickly going over the syllabus. Then I'm going to talk about our Canvas page and the things to look out for on the Canvas page. Very, very important kind of landing site for all of the course. All right, so I already introduced myself. And you can be in one of two sections. Both sections are almost going to see the same thing, with one exception, which I'll mention. You can reach me via email right here. Many of you have. The best way to communicate with me when you're in the class, and presumably you are, if you're watching this video through the module link, although you may have got to it straight through the YouTube channel. But anyway, if you're in the class, then the best way to communicate with me is Canvas Messenger. Okay? So I have scheduled office hours on Tuesdays and Fridays from 2 to 3. Those are going to be held remotely as live streams on YouTube. You can see, for example, today, since I'm recording this welcome video on Tuesday, August 25th, you can see that the live stream will be posted. I always post them like a day ahead of time, and so you'll see an upcoming stream. Furthermore, we're going to have extra time for this class. I'm going to have a extra conference. I'm going to create a conference tab and invite the entire course to a conference, and that's going to be held today at 3 o'clock. And so if you're in the let me clarify that. If you're in the 0606 section, it's going to be at 3 o'clock from 3 to 3:30. If you're in the 9658 section, it's going to be from 3:30 to 4. Okay, so the idea there is that because they're separate sections, they're going to have separate conferences. All right, and that's just kind of to open up for further questions. That's not going to be a regular thing, but I just want to have a chance to kind of meet more of you and to address anything that's on your minds as we really kind of get this show on the road. All right, so again, the 0606 section, you're going to have an additional conference that you'll be invited to following office hours. That's going to be held at 3 p.m. today. The 9658 section, you'll be invited to a conference within Canvas at 3:30 p.m. And let me be clear, that is not Zoom. I don't use Zoom. I'm just not a fan of it. I don't think it works very well. And so that's actually, it's built, the conference that we're going to be using, you will see the invite. It's called Blue Button Conference. It's built into Canvas. All right, so let's move right on, right? I don't want to spend too much on this. Here's our textbook. Many of you have already seen this listed at the Canvas bookstore. Some of you asked about WebAssign and so on. You will need WebAssign, so it's good to buy the textbook with WebAssign. The loose leaf version with WebAssign is very reasonably priced. You can also just find an older edition that will serve the purpose, and maybe just buy WebAssign for just buy it on its own. Okay, so you got lots of options there. You can email me to discuss your options, but you will need some sort of textbook, I think, to follow along best. But what you absolutely need to do, the homework, is access to the website. So the homework and the quizzes, you need to pay for that access. Okay, I'll say that again in a moment. Here's the intended outcomes of the course. You can read those on your own. Okay, so the class will be entirely remote and based on Canvas. All right, the class is all about the modules. Okay, so the first module is basically up and complete except for some videos. Each module contains multiple pages. At the end of every few modules, there'll be an extra page that will be one of the 3 midterms. Right, so that'll just be included in whatever module happens to fall on the midterm. All right. And the only 2 parts of the class that will be not included in the pages of the modules are the reading quizzes and homework. And actually, they are linked. They actually are linked through there. It depends on the publisher whether it's possible to link them into the modules. And in the case of your publisher, it is actually entirely possible, and so you can see it directly. So let's take a look. Right. So here is welcome in chapter 1. So the easiest way to think about the modules is the modules are basically once per week. I think we have 1 or 2 modules that extend over 2 weeks, but it's the easiest way to think about it is a module is a week. A module is a chapter. Okay. The one thing is that a module is always a chapter, and with a couple exceptions is it extends over more than a week, but it's almost always 1 week. So here's a great example of what a module looks like. If you look down in the lower left-hand part of your screen, you can see that this is Physics 40. I have both sections here. And then we go down and we look, okay, there's a welcome video. That's what you're watching right now. There'll always be a look ahead video. This one kind of serves both purposes. The syllabus, that is unique to Module 1. There'll always be a reading quiz. I had that first because that's one of the first things you have to do for every module every week. Then there'll be lectures. Lectures are split up into topics that make sense to me, kind of like how I want to split it up. So it's not like one lecture per section, nor is it one lecture per chapter. So you can see that Lecture 1 covers sections 1.1 through 1.6. All right, which is actually all of Chapter 1. All right, the video for that will be coming soon. I have completed notes. All of my lectures are going to be based around the idea of guided notes. This is what I would do in a in-person class as well. There are some key terms and formulas that I want to present that I'll be speaking about and talking about some key ideas. Then I'll move on to some core examples that illustrate particular types of problems that you're going to see within the content of that lecture. Then there are further questions that you can do on your own. I'll speak about those, further examples that you can do on your own. I'll speak about those in a second. Sometimes there are also concept questions that you'll see examples of that as well. And these are all the concept questions are always ones that I will demonstrate for you. The way that the lectures work is that it is all written on a tablet, and when I write, I will be recording audio, and so and there's examples on my YouTube from previous semesters and previous classes, and so essentially it's you see the live writing, you see me talking over that writing, and that is the format of the lecture. I try to keep them very concise so that you can just kind of move through them, get the ideas you need, and they don't ideally they don't ramble on. Okay, so then it'll always be for every lecture. There's always the blank notes, the video, and then the completed notes. Okay. All right, and then we've got homework 1. This takes you to a different website. It takes you to the WebAssign website. All right, that's the one that is created by the publisher. That's a paid website, so you have to pay for access. All right, so you can go there and complete the homework. Homeworks have particular due dates that are listed on the calendar, which I'll show you in just a minute. Then there's always a weekly challenge problem. Okay, and we're kind of going through again. So reading quizzes are always due first. This one's due on August 25th. All right, so that one is due. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to give you an extension on that one. I meant to have it due on Thursday. So it'll be due on August 27th. Then homework 1 is due on August 30th. So basically, it will always be due on Sundays. Homeworks will always be due on Sundays. There might be an exception or two. All right. Challenge problems. Well, to the challenge problem, I post it separately. And the reason is I want to make this page available all the time so you can look at the problem. But then there's a challenge problem analysis that comes, and that's going to be due on Monday. So in this case, it's going to be due on Monday, August 31st. Okay? I haven't created that page yet, but I'll be doing that shortly. Okay? Actually, I didn't realize I hadn't created it, but again, it'll go up in a few minutes. So by the time you see this video, it'll already be up. All right, and then we have Lab 1. Lab 1s are always, labs, in particular Lab 1, are always due the next Wednesday. So again, we're kind of going down in order. And then there's Chapter 1 participation. These are never due until the day of the exam that covers those chapters. So you can see that this technically isn't due until October 2nd, but since only one student can participate for a given problem, you might want to choose a problem early, because if someone else chooses it, that problem is no longer available. And I'll talk about what problems are available in just a moment. And then finally, there's study guide for exam 1. It made sense to put this here so you can kind of take a look at it earlier, but I'm going to move it down to a final module called the additional material, and that's going to have all the study guides, and it's also going to have some examples of past exams with solutions that you can use for further studying. Okay? So homework, all the graded homework will be completed online with WebAssign, as I mentioned. All right, the online homework requires an additional fee. I don't remember what that fee is. I know it's less than the other publisher I use. I think it's around $50 is the fee. And the total of all the points from your homework were with 10% of your final grade. All right, so a good thing to point out there. The reading quizzes, there'll be weekly reading quizzes. They're held online and made available during an approximately 48-hour period preceding the lecture when the chapter is introduced. And that's kind of loose, because they're going to be. So that's why they're scheduled for very early in the week, Monday or Tuesday, and that's why you can see that this one was left on a Tuesday. But realistically, since we're working out kind of getting access and buying our textbooks and so on, I want to at least give you till Thursday for the first reading quiz. But really, the idea of the reading quiz is it starts the material. It's not supposed to be hard, and it's supposed to encourage you to to take a look at the book ahead of time, whatever copy of the book is it that you have, or at the very least, kind of look at the type of concept questions that are going to be presented. The reading quizzes aren't meant to be difficult. You only have 15 minutes to do them, however, so you don't have a lot of time. So you should have some preparation. Although if you don't, you can probably still make the best of it. Okay, but you'll be getting less out of the reading quiz if you haven't, kind of seen that material. Because ideally, it's like, oh, I remember seeing that. All right, reading quizzes will be worth 6% of your final grade. And the lowest one will be dropped as well, just like with homework. Laboratory work, okay? So during the term, you will explore several experiments, simulations online, as well as perform simple experiments at home using everyday objects, your cell phone, and the following required items. Okay, so the only thing you need to buy, and you have some time to buy it, is a fishing scale with a built-in measuring tape. And I give you an example. They're quite affordable. All right, so you need something like that. You need a basically like what's a spring scale, a vertical spring scale, where you can measure the force of something by hooking it onto a hook. And the built-in measuring tape is nice because then you can make measurements. If you already have a measuring tape around, then you don't necessarily need one with a built-in measuring tape. All the labs can be completed individually or as partners. Details on what to turn in for each lab will be posted in the modules. So, for example, Lab 1 already has all the details up. So you can see I kind of have a note about what you're going to be turning in. The actual handout is included right here. I try to keep the handouts to one page. All right, and then there's in this particular case there's an addendum because there's some extra theory, and then there's a place to actually submit your work. Okay. So that is the idea behind the lab. We can go back to the module. Okay. So again, labs will always be due the following Wednesday. And you can just move on from there. Okay. Participation. So participation takes on the specific importance in a remote class. So graded participation will take the form of solving or attempting to solve simple physics problems and then uploading your solution to the associated discussion page. Okay. So that's what Chapter 1 discussion is, or Chapter 1 participation. It's actually a discussion page. And if I take a moment and click on that link of the module, you can see that it's split up by section. This is the only thing that needs to be split up by section. And posting in the discussion board is the way to receive participation credit. Post should include a full solution, correct or incorrect, to a relevant unsolved problem. Relevant problems are unsolved examples from the lecture notes. So the lecture notes are set up where I leave space for me to write out solutions that I have already set aside as solutions that I want to show you that are important. But then I have additional problems. They're often very similar, just with a couple of little tweaks from the problems I already solved. Those are the additional examples that you can solve for credit. Okay? If another student has posted a full solution, correct or incorrect, then you cannot receive credit for posting a second solution to that problem. All right, so it's you have to be the first one to do a problem, but there are plenty of problems. I think there's going to be around 300 available problems. You have to do 6 over the total semester. If there's about 30 students in the class, then there's plenty to go around. Okay, in each section of the class. Post should include an image or PDF attachment with the written work for a given solution unless the solution is fully typed with the correct math type notation. I think it's going to be very unlikely that you're going to be presenting the solutions in the math type notation. Some that require figures that would just be impractical or almost impossible to do. But in certain cases, if it's kind of a shorter calculation and you are using the math type, then typed is acceptable. But I really do prefer handwritten and then uploading your handwritten document. Okay? And you're actually going to attach that to your discussion post. You can only receive participation credit for posting solutions to problems up until the date of the exam. So that's October 2nd, must be the date of the first exam, right? And if you looked at the calendar, you already know that's the case. You will need to post 6 full solutions, correct or incorrect, by the date of the final, or in order to receive full participation credit. And participation credit, going back over to the syllabus, we can see is worth 6% of your final grade. All right, just like the reading quizzes. All right, so that's the idea of Chapter 1 participation. That's how you get your participation points, and it's really excellent because in addition to doing the extra examples from the lecture notes, you can solve problems from the study guide, and everyone else is going to see those solutions. So it's us kind of all working together and collaborating in order to have a greater amount of resources to help us study for the exams and understand the material, because the most important thing in this class is to get practice with solving the problems. Not getting lost in the concepts, that's important too, but that's not as much work. The work, the time commitment, is solving problems, doing the examples, finding the techniques to solve the problems. Okay, because you can only figure out how to do them and get used to doing them if you do them multiple times. Similar problems multiple times. All right, last are the challenge problems. Okay, so challenge problems, there will be weekly challenge problems made available in each chapter module. These problems are ones that I have written myself. All right, so these are kind of very idiosyncratic problems. A graded assessment will be based on each problem. These assessments will ask you to show your solution to part of the original challenge problem as well as ask 2 short follow-up questions. The challenge problems will always be available for approximately a week, but the assessment will only be available for 24 hours. Okay, so it's the shortest time period, but again, it's mostly something you've already solved. All right, and then challenge problem assessments will be worth 8% of your final grade. And again, that's the one thing that isn't in the modulette, but what you'll see is you're going to see basically right below the challenge problem, all right, and we can click on the challenge problem. You can see what the first one looks like. But right below it, you're going to see the challenge problem assessment, and that's going to be locked. It will say it's locked until a certain date. Challenge problem 1, I believe, is due next Monday. And then, but then on Monday, then it will become unlocked. It will have a question for 7 out of the 12 points, or 7 out of 10 points, I should say, of the challenge problem is going to be, see if I can scroll down here, is going to be answering one part of the original problem. So I'll say, for 7 points, answer part B of the original problem. Okay, so that's it. You presumably already have it solved, and so then you just upload your solution. And again, it should be handwritten, so you're just going to upload a PDF of your solution. And then there will be a follow-up question for 3 points, which is, well, what if this was different with the system, or what if I asked a slightly different question? And so then, within that day, you'll have to follow that up. And then there's going to be a 2-point extra credit question, which is usually conceptual or relating it to some newer material that was just introduced that kind of that week, or maybe relates to the lectures that are covered on the Monday of that week. So kind of pushing the envelope in terms of new material, but often are also just conceptual, maybe ask you to draw a graph or something. And so then that's going to allow you to get some extra credit on every quiz. So you can always get 12 out of 10 on any given challenge problem, the weekly challenge problems. All right, so hopefully that makes sense, and you'll see the first assessment, and then you'll get an idea of what they look like. Okay, so we can move back over here. All right, so that covers all the the practice that's built into the class, all the opportunities to get points doing homework and participation and reading quizzes and challenge problems, all that are just helping you prepare for exams. Okay, because of course exams are the big moments where you test your knowledge. All right, so there'll be 3 midterm exams and a final exam. The dates of the exam are listed on the calendar. Each of the 3 exams will focus on the recent chapters. The final exam will be cumulative, but will have approximately 25% new material. Exams will be a combination of conceptual questions and computational problems. The midterm exam will be out of 100 points and the final out of 150. Then I go down and I explain exactly where the problems are coming from. I'll let you read this on your own, but you know exactly where to expect the problems on the exam. Some come from the study guide, some come from the homework, some come from the challenge problem. So it's where to see them. And then I explain the format on the final as well. All right, how many problems there are, where the points are divided, how much is conceptual, how much is computational, and so on. All right, and you can ask me any questions about that format, but it's laid out quite well here. All right, completing the exam, corrections for extra credit will be offered for the 3 midterms, and there also will be an extra credit assignment for the final. Right, so you have some points, some opportunity to get some more points, which can be important because sometimes the exams can be challenging. So it's good to know that there's a little bit of a second chance. All right, the final exam is scheduled. All right, so this is a good time to talk about scheduling, because the class is absolutely asynchronous. Okay, obviously I'm going to have a conference for those of you that want to attend, but it's optional. Obviously there are office hours, but those are optional. There's no required showing up for a lecture. I'm certainly not going to be taking role at these lectures because they don't exist. I just record things asynchronously, post them, and then communicate with you in whatever means is best as a class. Mostly lots of messaging, and then seeing you in office hours. But the important thing is there are some scheduled events, and those are exams. Okay, the exams take place at a particular time. You have a number of hours to solve them. You have to be available during that time. So I want you all to look at your calendars, your personal calendars, your work calendars, your school calendars, and make sure that you're available within the windows of time for the 3 midterms and the final. So let's go ahead and jump ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so exam 1 is on October 2nd, which is a Friday, and it starts at 9 a.m. and it finishes at 1 p.m. So you need to be available during some of that time. You may not need all the time. It'd be nice to have it, obviously. So you need to be available from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Friday, October 2nd. Likewise, you got to be available from 9 to 1 on Friday, October 30th. See the trend there, right? So the midterms are on Fridays. Okay, except for the third one. The third one, because of the way it works out with Thanksgiving, the third final is actually on a Monday, but same time, 9 to 1. And then finally, the final is back to a Friday, and it's from 9 till 3. So you get 2 extra hours on the final. Okay? So make sure you're available for those times. I'll mention important dates, but first think about grading. So these are the letter grades. If you get 90% or over based on all those points and where all those points are coming from, then you get a letter grade in your transcript. That's an A. Okay? Now, I reserve the right to lower those. I don't think I will be, because the remote aspect of this class means that I think you're going to be generally doing better as long as you stay on top of the workflow. But that's the letter grade, okay? The only time I lower it if it turns out I gave some exams that were way too difficult, and after the third exam, if there's not a quarter of the class that have A's leaving the third exam. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that the quarter of the class will get A's, but I want a quarter of the class going into the final with A's. And if there's not, then I will lower the thresholds so that there are, okay? And I'll make that announcement whether I'm doing that or not after the third midterm. So keep that in mind. This is just a breakdown. This is just summarizing all the information above about where points are coming from. So 10% from homework, 10% from labs, 6% participation, 6% from reading quizzes, 8% from the challenge problems, 30% from the 3 midterms because it's 10% each, and then 30% from the final. So you see that exams are 60% of your grade. Now the other 40% are important, and you got to be doing all those other things, but those other things are there to help you, and I'm giving you points for doing the practice that you need to be doing. Okay? But I want the exams to be at the forefront, thus the 60% of the grade allocated to exams. All right, so this is the calendar. I'll only mention week 1, right? So the reading quiz due on Tuesday, but I'm going to push that back because it's the first week. The homework is still going to be due on Sunday. Challenge problems are generally due on a Monday, so you can see there it's due on Monday, August 31st, and then as I said, labs tend to be due on Wednesdays. Okay, and then I actually forgot to put a Monday there, but you can see next week on week 2, clearly challenge problem because of the holiday on Monday got pushed back to Tuesday, but then we go to week 3, challenge problems are back on Monday. All right, and the reason I bring that up is because the idea is that certain things should be always due on the same day. So you should get used to homework to always be due on Sundays. You should get used to reading quizzes being always due on Tuesdays and so on. Okay, and then the last thing, some important dates for the class. Last day to add is the 4th. Last day to drop with the refund is also the 4th. Last day to drop without a refund is the 7th. And that's without a W as well. Census date is on the 8th. Last day to change to pass no pass is the 25th of September. And then finally, last day to withdraw with the W is out in November on November 5th. All right, so I hope that is a good introduction to the class, and you can kind of see that modules are chocked full of content, and every week is going to have all these lectures, reading quizzes, homeworks, challenge problems, and as you can see. Okay, so I really look forward to continuing to communicate with you. I hope to see you all in office hours or in our special class conference today at 3 or 3:30, depending on your section. All right, thank you so much for watching. Bye.